The artist I'm going to talk about in this episode was a founding member of Traffic. I told you a little bit about him when we did the episode 66 on Traffic. But in this episode, I'm going to get into his solo career after he left Traffic. And of course, I'm talking about Dave Mason. Let's drop the needle. After leaving Traffic, Dave Mason worked as a session musician regularly. He befriended Jimi Hendrix and plays with him on Jimi's cover of All Along the Watchtower and Crosstown Traffic from Electric Ladyland. He plays for the Rolling Stones on the album Beggar's Banquet, playing bass drum on Street Fightin' Man. He toured with Delaney, Bonnie and Friends alongside Eric Clapton and George Harrison. He plays on George's phenomenal album All Things Must Pass and was briefly part of Derek and the Dominos, Eric Clapton's other band. His first album is Alone Together, which came out in 1970. There's the hit, Only You Know and I Know, Can't Stop Worryin', Can't Stop Lovin', Shouldn't Have Took More Than You Gave, World in Changes, and Sad and Deep as You. It's really a great album, and it charted at number 22. There's an easy way to tell if your copy of Alone Together is kind of rare, and that's if it looks like this. Only 30% of the albums pressed were pressed on this colored vinyl. After leaving England and arriving in the US, Dave Mason started a collaboration with Mama Cass Elliot. He wrote 5 songs on this album, and Cass wrote 2. Cass sings solo on only one track. Otherwise, she's singing background vocals to Dave's lead vocal. Honestly, I never really took much to this album, but it still reached number 49 on the charts. In 1972, Dave releases his 3rd solo album, Headkeeper. And it's an interesting album, not so much for the material, but for the drama that goes on behind this record. It was recorded mostly live at the Troubadour in West LA, and I was there for those shows, and they were great. Dave wanted to put the album out as a double album, but his label, Blue Thumb, said, no way, it's going to be a single album. So Dave took the masters from the studio, but he left some behind. And so Blue Thumb took the ones that were left behind, which were pretty much the inferior takes, and released an album. Dave was furious, so he left Blue Thumb and signed with Columbia. In 1973, we get 2 albums from Dave Mason, and the first one is called Dave Mason is Alive. And yeah, guess what? It's those live sessions from the Troubadour that got left behind that Blue Thumb put out without any involvement of Dave Mason. So then in October, he releases his first Columbia record. It's called It's Like You Never Left. This album contains great talent. Besides Dave, he's got Graham Nash, George Harrison, and Stevie Wonder. I like If You Got Love, Headkeeper, Misty Morning Stranger, and It's Like You Never Left. It's Dave's highest charting album, and it hits number 25. The next year, he releases an album and just calls it Good Songs, Show Me Some Affection, Every Woman, a cover of Bob Dylan's All Along the Watchtower, which is kind of a flashback to when Dave played that with Jimi Hendrix, although there's a totally different feeling here. The next year in 1975, he releases Split Coconut. But the critical reaction is not good. The songs are labeled lightweight. But the audience liked it okay. It hit 37 on the charts. In 1977, Dave releases his big album, Let It Flow. It contains the monster hit, We Just Disagree. You couldn't turn on the radio in that year without hearing that song. The album is full of some nice songs, but it's not really one of my favorites from Dave. After this album, I kind of lost touch with Dave Mason, until in 1990, when Lindsey Buckingham leaves Fleetwood Mac for the first time, and Dave Mason becomes their new lead guitarist. Fleetwood Mac releases one album with Dave, and it's called Time. Dave Mason continues to be active today, but I've kind of lost track of him. The last album that he recorded is called Alone Together Again, and it was in 2020. By the way, he's very active in social media. He's posting all the time, so you might want to search for him there. From Traffic to being a session player with the greats, to a solo career with many fine solo albums, Dave Mason has made a lot of incredible music, and he certainly keeps me rocking. If you liked this episode, hit the like button, and you can also leave me a comment down below, and I'll respond to you. If you subscribe, we'll let you know when future episodes come out.